I missed out on so much because I was afraid that my house wasn't good enough, clean enough, fancy enough, nice enough, or perfect enough for people to come in. I actually think that I felt like if people saw my messy house, then they would think I had a messy life.
Do you ever wonder, how am I going to make it through to bedtime? How will I make it to the weekend? Or how will I ever get through this long, hard season with my kids? If you're a mom, you've likely asked those questions over and over again. Hi, I'm Sarah Short. I'm a busy mom of 5 kids, and after almost 2 decades of parenting and asking myself those same questions, I'm here to share with you some of the best ways to navigate through your days as a mom. From life with a newborn, to toddlers, to teenagers, and everything in between, I'll teach you how to walk through every season of motherhood with courage and creativity and come out on the other side smarter and wiser, all while creating great relationships with your kids and a home life you love. My Nana once told me, there's no way but through. Turns out she was right, in life and in motherhood. So throw your hair in a messy bun, grab your coffee, and come have a seat as we talk about all things mom. This is the No Way But Through podcast.
Welcome back to the No Way But Through podcast. I'm so glad you're here with me today as we talk about mom stuff and life stuff and just the whole host of things we talk about over here. Every week, I am just so grateful that you're here with me and listening and engaging with us over on Instagram. I love how supportive you all have been of me and this podcast and each other over there. It's so fun for me to see us building that kind of community there on Instagram. I'm really excited about this episode today because what I want to talk to you about is something that's really foundational in my family and been an area where we've really learned and grown a lot. I think it can be tempting to hear from moms who are ahead of you and think that they've always had it together and they've always been doing things well. And I want to shatter any perception that that's been the case with me. There are so many areas in my life where I've grown and changed a ton as a mom and as a person and become better just from experiencing different things and learning and trying things out and finding that they didn't work and then trying again and finding that, oh, this is the way that actually works. That's one of my favorite things about life and motherhood. We can always be trying new things. We can always be attempting to relate in different ways and figure out what works and then let go of what doesn't and just continue to grow and change as people. And I have really, really loved that as a mom. We learn from trying. We learn from messing up and it not working out, then trying again until we get it. So much of life's big truths we learned in kindergarten, right? We try and we try again. One of the things that my family has really learned to do well, and one of the questions I get asked all the time, is how to build relationships with people by welcoming them into your home and family life. We are so passionate about that around here because we have seen what it's done to us and our kids and in the lives of other people. I could fill a huge photo album with pictures of people who have come in and out of our home and family life. All kinds of different people. Friends, we need each other. Young moms need older moms. Singles need families. Kids need people besides their parents to invest in them and cheer for them. Babies need other arms to hold them because mamas need naps. We need each other, all of us. Not one of us was made to navigate the joys and sorrows and questions and madness and loneliness of this world without the wisdom and love and care of others walking alongside us. Community It has never, not once, just landed in my lap. I have always had to pursue it with the risk of rejection coupled with the hope of just maybe. Wherever I've lived and in every season, that has been the case. But it is the most worthy pursuit. Is it always easy? No, of course not. But every bit of it is worth it. I actually feel like my family has been like a yo-yo in this area. There are times when we have done really, really well in opening our doors and letting people in. And a lot of that has had to do with me as the mom. Like whatever I was feeling at the moment or in that season. For example, when Jason and I were first married and we bought our first house together, we bought a house with a pool. We felt like absolute high rollers, y'all, because in our small 2-story house in suburban Baltimore, there was an in-ground pool in the backyard. We were still really good friends with a lot of our college friends, and so we were constantly having parties and looking for reasons to invite people over. We began 2 annual traditions in that house as a newly married couple. We had a pool party every July 4th where we invited all of our mostly college friends over. And then every October, we had an Oktoberfest party. Everyone brought beer and appetizers, and we strung lights out by the pool, and the shenanigans that went on at those parties was epic. We absolutely loved those 2 days every year because it meant that our house was full of our friends that we loved, and we just had a big old time out by the pool and enjoying each other. Once our first son was born, a lot of that slowed down. I was really overwhelmed as a new mom and really tired. And the idea of filling my house with people and having a lot of people around and throwing a party just felt incredibly overwhelming to me and just not something that I wanted to do. And a year or so after he was born, we then moved to the Midwest and away from all of our friends and family. And so those traditions just kind of fell away. In the 5 years we spent in Michigan, I was having babies about every other year, and we didn't have any friends at all when we first got there. But as we started to develop relationships and I became friends with a few girls, we began to open our doors to them and host them and their husbands and kids. And it was chaos and it was crazy, but I wanted those relationships to grow, and I loved those girls so much that we just opened up our doors, and they came over for dinner a lot, and we hosted a small group, and it was a sweet but short season of having them and their babies over quite a bit. Because then we moved back east. I was having my 4th baby, and I didn't really have any friends here in Raleigh, so I would invite my sister's friends over here and there. I think we had maybe like a gingerbread house party one night, but that's really all I remember, and our door just kind of closed. It was all really exhausting for me to figure out how to make friends and then how to open our door to people, because my house was constantly a wreck and a complete disaster. And as you heard in episode 5, the Doris incident happened, and I was just like, none of this is worth it. I'm not doing it. About 7 years ago, we decided to move to another part of town, closer to where our friends from church were all moving or were living. Jason and I sat down before we moved, and we had this heart-to-heart conversation about it all. And we decided this: if we are going to spend this money and buy a new house, then we are going to throw our doors open, even if it's hard for us. We're going to invite our friends in, and we're going to be open-handed with what God's given us in this new home, because we are spending so much money on a house, and we just both felt like if we're going to do this, then we need to use it in a valuable way to build relationships with others and to love people well. Just a few months after we moved into this house, the one we bought 7 years ago, we invited a young family to come live with us for 3 months while they were in transition. Our house was, well, and still is, a fixer-upper, and it really needed to be completely remodeled. We're talking like 4 and 5 layers of wallpaper on the walls and borders, and the kitchen floor had 5 different layers of linoleum, and everything was dark wood, dark paneling, dark wood trim. Everything was just old and needed to be remodeled. And some of our friends were like, y'all, are you sure you're up for this? But we loved it and we saw the potential. We did just a handful of things before our friends moved in and put everything else on hold for the months that they lived with us. But this invitation, it was the beginning of what we said we'd do. If we're going to buy a house and move, then we're going to throw the doors open and we're going to use it to love people well. Those months, that summer that our friends lived with us, well, it was them and their 3 children, including a newborn. It wasn't a creaking of the door. It meant a family of 5 was living with us. We learned so much that summer about being open-handed with our home and in blowing open the door and welcoming and inviting people in to all of our mess and all of our family issues and our marriage and our little kids. And if you have people living with you, there's really no way to hide what life is like day in and day out. I mean, if someone's living with you, you can post like whatever you want on social media, but they're seeing the real deal with you in your real life at home. And I think in many ways, that family living with us, I, as the mom, I began to develop some really strong muscles for living authentically in front of other people. And also, it was just a really good check to live authentically on social media. I had always said about social media that I was so glad for all the years that I blogged, like before there was Instagram or Facebook or anything like that. I was so glad that my father-in-law and my husband both read my blog, because my father-in-law reading it kept me from posting anything totally inappropriate that was like literally going to blow up my life or be horrible, and I was going to have consequences from it. But my husband reading it meant that I had to be true and I had to be authentic, because he would call me out on any bullcrap immediately. In another and maybe even more powerful way, having a family live with us day in and day out meant that I wasn't going to stop living authentically, because that would be too exhausting with 5 young children. But it did mean that I learned to just let some stuff go and to not be hung up on certain things, because it turns out they just loved us and loved being around us. And they really didn't care about our messy lives and messy issues. And it was just a really sweet season as I grew as a person and as a mom, as it related to opening my doors, opening our doors, and letting people in our home. And I own that as my own, because it really was me. My kids didn't care. Jason didn't really care either. I was the one hung up on stuff and not wanting to let people into our home and into our messy life. That experience with that family living with us really is what launched us into what has now been 7 years of living with people coming in and out of our home all the time. And I am so, so grateful because of what it's done in my family and what it's done in my kids and all of the things that I've learned and how much richer our life is now because of all the people that have come through the doors of our home. I don't tend to live with a lot of regret, but I will tell you that I do regret and wish that I had learned some of these lessons earlier when my kids were very, very young. because I think we've probably missed out on relationships and really sweet moments and time with people because I just wasn't willing to open the door to our home like we do today. So today, I'm going to share with you some of the things we've learned as we've opened up our home and how I've grown and changed, because what I want to do is encourage you that you can do the same thing. If you just have a newborn and you are completely overwhelmed with life, I get it. If you have one new little baby or you have multiple kids at home and you just feel like, how do we have relationships with people while we're in this season with little kids? How do we grow in this area? And how do I, as the mom, become brave to just throw open our door and let people come into our messy life? And how do we make those relationships grow and thrive and be meaningful and rich for all of us? Well, that's what I want to share with you today. Specifically, what are the things that I believe now and I cling to and that I've learned after 7 years of throwing our doors open and my family developing relationships with all different kinds of people? We have gained so much and learned so much. And our life is so sweet because of these things that I've learned and the relationships we have now and have had with people that we love. I love what these relationships have done in our kids, and I love what they've done in me as a mom. I want this for all of you in every season of motherhood, no matter where you are. These are things I wish I'd understood better when I first became a mom and we were growing our family. So, here are 5 ways to open your home and build meaningful relationships. Number 1, invite people for dinner. This is one of the best ways you can get to know people and build relationships with them. Like I shared in the 4th episode of this podcast, gathering around your table with other people will grow your relationships. It will help train your kids on how to interact with adults, even from a very, very young age. It will become such a sweet way to love other people well because everyone eats and everyone's hungry. Over the years, we have had so many different people come and have dinner in our home. Young couples, singles, other families, older couples. Even sitting here recording this podcast, all of these faces are flashing in front of me, and we have just had so many incredible and sweet moments with people around our table. Here's the deal. You have to cook dinner anyway. You have to make dinner for the kids and for your family. And so even if it's just once a month or something like that, you can pull out your favorite cookbook or pull up that one tried and true favorite recipe you have and make it in advance and get the groceries for it or make it the day of. But having people for dinner is just an awesome way for you and your kids to be able to build relationships with other people inside your home. And you actually don't even really have to cook. You don't. You can order pizza or takeout or anything. It really doesn't matter. What people want is to be invited over. They don't really care what's for dinner. They want you. They want relationship with you and with your family. I would argue that an amazing meal really is a special way that you can love people well. It just is. A home-cooked meal, it says something. It means something. So if you have a meal that you love to make and you make it really well and it's easy for you, think about a night when you can know that you can take time to make that meal on a week that may be an easier week for you or a day of the week that's easier, and plan to invite somebody over to have dinner with you and your family. It always brings me so much joy. It really, really does when someone says to me, Sarah, I love coming to your house because I always know that the food's going to be good. I have heard this from friends. I've heard it from teenagers and all different kinds of people, because I really do try to make my favorite meals and things that I really enjoy making for my family on nights when we can invite somebody else in to enjoy it with us. I benefit from the pouring out of myself. My kids benefit, and the people who are coming in and feeling so loved just from getting invited to our house and get to share a meal around the table with my family, they get to be loved and cared for by us, by all of us. And here is just another quick tip. If you want to have people over, make a meal that you can make in advance and put in the freezer. And then the night that people are coming over, a night when you have some extra space and bandwidth, all you have to do is pull it out of the freezer and bake it, and you are ready to enjoy having people over. I can't tell you how much my kids love this. When they have to go to the garage and grab extra chairs because someone's coming over. Again, back to episode 4, where I shared with you the 2 habits for building a close-knit family. Having people around the table with us has taught my kids so many things, not the least of which is to be able to have conversations with adults and to openly and freely make others feel like $1,000,000 when they come over to our house. Number 2, let go of perfection. This is one of the biggest barriers moms face to allowing people to come in and be part of their family life. This was the biggest barrier I faced for sure when my oldest kids were tiny, and I am so sad about it now. Toys scattered about, messy sink full of dishes, laundry in piles everywhere. All those things were like caution tape on my front door, and I so regret it. Your house doesn't have to be clean. It just doesn't. People don't want to come over to your clean house. People want to come over to see and spend time with you. They want to be seen and loved and welcomed in, and they do not care if your house is a mess. What you see as a mess, other people see as you living a life with a family. I cannot overstate how important this is and what this idea of perfection will do and what it will deprive you of. If you hold on to an idea that your house needs to be a certain thing or a certain way, or be able to stand up to some idea of perfection on Instagram or Pinterest or something so dumb like that, it will keep you. It will keep you and your kids from really experiencing and knowing the benefits of throwing your doors open and having people come in and letting your kids love them and get to know them, and for other people to get to do the same for you and your family. Here's something that I think happens, and it took me a long time to be able to figure this out. But now that I have figured it out and know it, I am just so glad that I do, and I want to share it with you. One of the things that can happen is that as young moms, we look at our moms' houses, or we look at the houses of women who are older than us, an aunt or grandparents or whatever, just other houses that we go to that are so neat and clean, right? that's kind of what we've seen. And we remember sort of from high school and college, like what our mom's houses look like. And they were neat. And now we have these tiny little kids in our houses, and our home is an absolute wreck. So we can look at our mom's houses and think, even subconsciously, this is what a mom's house should look like. But that is completely absurd, because that is what someone's house looks like who doesn't have little kids at home, or who is retired, or pays for cleaners, or who has time on the weekends. I remember going to my in-laws on Christmas when Holly was a newborn. So let's see, my oldest was 8 then. And we walked in, and I was so completely exhausted from the 7-hour car ride from Raleigh up to Baltimore that we kind of walked in, and the kids ran in to see their grandparents, and I plopped down right inside their front door in their living room. I swiveled the chair around and was staring at the Christmas tree. My mother-in-law has the most beautiful Christmas tree I think I've ever seen in anyone's home. She is absolutely masterful in the way she decorates her Christmas tree. She is so intentional about the ornaments that she picks, and they're always so personal and just so unique. And she even has a smattering of different homemade ornaments from kids and things like that. But just the way she decorates the tree with like floral picks and ribbons, it's just all so incredible. And I want to shout out to my mother-in-law here too, because every year she sends ornaments to us for our tree. She sends ornaments to all of my kids and to me and Jason, and it's just so sweet and special. And so, Mom, if you are listening, thank you for the ornaments that you always send us. We love them so much. But anyway, back to the story. We had gotten in late, and I was just sitting there in her living room looking at this tree, and I remember thinking to myself, my Christmas tree at home looks like a 2-year-old decorated it. First of all, there's no ornaments on the bottom third of the tree because my maniac toddler would rip all of them off. I had no idea at that time how to tie a bow on a tree. I still don't. And I didn't even know you could buy picks with like pine cones on them. I remember sitting there looking at that tree and thinking, my tree absolutely sucks. But here's the thing. A 2-year-old had decorated my tree. We scooped up little kids and let them put ornaments on, and they actually did only put ornaments on the bottom third of the tree, and then we had to move them after they all went to bed to the top of the tree so that they wouldn't pull down the tree trying to rip the ornaments off the bottom. And I remember it dawning on me while I was sitting there that there was going to come a day when my tree was going to be incredibly beautiful, and that I was going to have the mental and physical energy to decorate a beautiful tree exactly the way I wanted to. But that in this season, I had little kids, and I needed to embrace all of the handmade ornaments and just embrace our jacked up tree because it was us, and it was a reflection of us in that season. And it was just an incredibly freeing moment for me as I sat there, just loving and enjoying my mother-in-law's tree for its beauty and splendor, and also recognizing with wisdom that I was in a different season of motherhood. I missed out on so much because I was afraid that my house wasn't good enough, clean enough, fancy enough, nice enough, or perfect enough for people to come in. I actually think that I felt like if people saw my messy house, then they would think I had a messy life. And you know what? I do. We are messy. Our hearts are messy. Our parenting is messy. My kids are messy. Once I started realizing that I didn't have to be a perfect mom and friend with a perfect house to let people in, the messiness of my house just kind of stopped mattering to me. I am so glad that I got over that before my kids missed out completely on all of these people that now come in and out of our doors. And I'm telling you this now because I want you to have this now as young moms. I want you to feel free to just let people in with you as you are, and your kids as they are, and your house exactly as it is. People don't care about how clean your house is. I do want to say this because it's really important and I think it's really helpful. We always made cleaning up, meaning straightening up enough that people could actually come in the door, a family event. We made cleaning up intentional. We would say to the kids, and we still do, what can we do to make the house ready for Jordan and Meredith to come over? How can we all help so that when they come in, they feel really loved and welcome as soon as they walk in the door because we've made it ready for them? My kids almost always responded so well to this, even my little teeny tiny ones, 3 years old, 4 years old, because then they saw themselves as part of something special we were doing. They would pick up their shoes and their toys or take something out to the trash cans, and we included them in the process of making our home ready for friends to come over. Clean and spotless? No way. Everything perfect? Absolutely not. There is a big difference between entertaining and loving people. We are not here to entertain people. We are here to love them and serve them well, and we want them to leave not thinking that our house is awesome or thinking that we are awesome. But when people walk out of our door at the end of the night, we want them to leave feeling loved and wanted. We do that with food. We do that with our conversation. We do that with intention and listening. And yes, by straightening up the toys that are in the entryway so that they can walk through the door. But the goal is that they leave feeling loved, not that they leave thinking more of us. And this leads me to number 3. Inviting people in allows them to play roles that they normally don't get to play. This was something that was so mind-blowing to me, but as I began to understand it, it was just the most incredible thing and revelation to me. If you invite a young couple over that doesn't have any kids, and you invite some singles over, let's say, or anyone that is in any way different than you give them an opportunity to do things they don't normally get to do. One of my favorite things is watching people come over and run outside into the street to play football or into the driveway to play basketball with my kids. Just the other day, we had 2 single guys over to our house to watch football with us, and at halftime, they grabbed their shoes and were out in the street playing football with our kids. They never get to play football with 10 to 19-year-olds. They work really hard and they have their businesses. And when they come over here, it gives them an opportunity to do stuff they never get to do. And our kids, they think it's the best thing in the world that these guys they look up to want to hang out with and play football with them in the street. We have had so many game nights with singles and young couples and other families, and we have all howled with laughter over our kids' antics. And our kids have thrown their arms around so many different people when they win games, and it's just been this big win for everybody. This has all been happening for years, even when we had really little ones at home. I have loved when girls in their 20s have come over and braided Holly's hair or played with baby dolls with her, and guys have come over and taught my kids football skills or played spike ball, and it's just been really awesome. Even now that my kids are a little older, that my teenagers, their friends come over and they love my littler kids. And it's because we've had them over here so much. And when they come over, they play with the little kids. And I've come to love these teenagers like my own kids because our little kids look up to them and love them. And all we did that made any of this happen was invite them over for a meal. That's it. We've let friends run carpool for us because they offered and wanted to. And we've had friends drop our kids off at practice and run kids home and help us put our little ones to bed and helped load the dishwasher and unload the dishwasher and wipe off the table. And it's just become this really incredible experience where my family and the people that we're inviting in just get absorbed into our life. And it all starts with a simple invitation over for dinner, over for cookies, or over for a game on TV. Oh, how I wish I had done this more when my kids were really, really little. I am so grateful that we didn't miss this because I explained in episode 4 about gathering around the table. It has been so incredible for my family and for my children and just for all of us and for all of these people that have come and been part of our life over here. I want this for you. And so I want you to let go of any ideas of perfection and just allow other people to come in and pick up a sponge and rinse the dishes and put them in the dishwasher and go outside and play with your kids or push a stroller while you're cleaning up. And as you serve up ice cream for Sundays, you've let other people become part of the rhythm of your life as a family. Everyone playing different roles that redefine what family is and expand it. And it's for the good of everyone. It's such a gift to everybody. It really is. Number 4, be ready to listen. When we first started doing this many years ago, we would have singles or couples over, and because our kids were much younger then, like we were still in diaper land over here, our kids would go to bed by 8 p.m. And so we would put the kids to bed, and then we would come back downstairs and find that the young couple we'd had over or the singles we had were finishing up cleaning the dishes or wiping down the table. And then we would all sit around the table for an hour or 2 hours and have dessert or play card games. But really, what ended up happening as we were talking, and one of the things that Jason and I learned during that season and are still learning today, is that so many younger couples, so many singles, they have so much to share, and a lot of times, nobody to listen. They have such unique challenges, and we remember that because we were single once, and we were a young couple once, and we loved going over to the families' houses that I've talked about before on here. We loved going to their houses and spending time with their kids, and we would eat and we would talk to them about all of our life stuff, and they would sit and listen, and they would give us advice and pray for us, and we just loved being able to share our lives with them and learn from them. I know you might think you're just really young parents and you don't have anything to offer anybody else, but you absolutely do. If you are young parents, there is so much about life you've already lived and you've already learned, and there are people that would love to come spend time with you. Younger singles, college kids, younger couples, and just sit at your table and share their lives with you and for you to be a listening ear for them. My tendency, which is probably zero surprise to any of you, is to talk. It's just to talk and talk and talk and share my stories and laugh and share my life. And one of the best things that I've learned as a human, as a person, one of the ways that I have grown the most, and it has helped me so much in this area, is that when we would have people over, I learned to be a really good listener, to enter into people's lives by listening, by being a sounding board, and by loving people well, by opening the door to my home, letting people in, and hearing their stories. They would tell us, people have told us how much that has meant to them. And that also blows my mind because of how much it's meant to me and how much it's meant to my kids. My kids have learned so much just from hearing the unique stories of others. And it has made them more compassionate, and it's made them think outside of our little family bubble, and to see that people make different choices and live in different ways, and that people are different from us. And it's been so valuable and so sweet. And I want you to have this too. I want you to grow in this way and be able to see just what an incredible gift other people can be to your family and the incredible gift that you can be to them. Number 5, be open-handed with these relationships. One of the things that we've really had to learn as we began opening our doors and letting people in is that some relationships that our family has with other people will only be for a season. There are some families, some younger couples, some singles, and some other younger people that we've been friends with, and it's only been for a season, and then things changed and shifted in some way. Sometimes we could identify those things, like they moved away, or we moved across town, or they moved across town, or they began pursuing other relationships. And there's other times when we couldn't even identify why there would have been a shift, but a shift had come. When you invite people into your life, it doesn't have to be for forever. And it doesn't have to be permanent, and it doesn't have to feel like this really heavy, big thing that you're getting into and might never be able to get out of if things change or if it kind of doesn't work for many seasons. There are some people we've only had over once or twice, and there are other people that we've had over dozens and dozens of times over a span of years, because it's just been so mutually beneficial to us and to them and to our kids, and it all just worked. When you invite people into your life and into your family life in this way that I've been talking about today, they don't have to be your people, your best friends for life. It might just be a few months or a year, or maybe it is many years, but it very well may be that you're moving to a next stage and they are too. And this is okay. Think about it this way. Do you remember your high school friends? What if somebody had told you that the group of friends you had in high school were the only friends that you could have for the rest of your life? Well, what if then you went to college and you felt you had to keep the same intensity of friendship with your high school friends now that you were in college? You had to keep up with both your high school friends and your new college friends. You get it, right? You couldn't do it. Your high school relationships naturally changed because your life changed, the season changed, and you now had new relationships that you wanted to invest in. Seasons change, and along with that, your friendships change. There will be people that will come into your family life that you will love and adore, and may not ever even be able to imagine life without. But then life shifts and changes, and it's okay to make room for new relationships and to let some of those other relationships change. And we have never seen this play out more so than in our family life. Even with the couples that we were talking about in past episodes, the ones that we looked up to and adored and learned so much about parenting from, we don't see them at all anymore for 1,000,000 different reasons. Well, we moved away and their kids grew up and now they're grandparents. And none of that changes how much we loved them and how important they were to us for a season. So I just want to encourage you, when you invite people over and you open your door and your family learns to do this with practice and intention and with those meals you make them from the freezer, that it's going to look all kinds of different ways. Some people you may have over one time and never have over again for any number of different reasons. And there will be some people that will be in your life for a long time. Recognizing that and knowing that ahead of time will really free you to just open the door, let people in, invite people for dinner, and accept the gift of those relationships as an incredible gift from God. But also just be free when things shift or change or something doesn't work out, to be okay with that too. I just want to encourage you to keep starting over. Keep being open, keep your door open, let your kids know and experience the beauty of letting people into your family life and teaching them to love others well alongside of you as you model it for them over and over again. I wanted to share all of this with you today because we didn't do this well very early on and we regret it. I absolutely regret it. We didn't do it early enough. We had all of these reasons and excuses, and I guess I should say I had all of these reasons and excuses. And what I missed out on, what my kids missed out on because I was too proud and I just didn't have the wisdom to know and understand that the bravest thing I could do and the thing that would be so meaningful and awesome for my family and for so many other people would be to open my door and invite people into our family mess. Because inside of that mess, there is so much goodness and so much beauty and so much for other people to love about us and our life and ways for us to love and serve them. There was so much beauty that my kids missed out on in not getting to see and experience how colorful and awesome so many people are. People that were right under our noses. I want this for you. I want you to have this. And I want you to be able to see past what I couldn't see past. And that's all of the mess and all of the reasons why you just can't do it. And you look at other families and you're like, why do they have people coming around and we don't? So much of it is just opening your door, picking up your phone and texting that young couple you saw at church, texting that single guy or that single girl that you know or that you ran into at Target and just invite them for dinner. Invite them for a football game and pizza that you're watching or a movie night and invite them into your traditions. I want you to blow your door open for other people to come in and just be part of your family and part of your family's life. You will gain so much. Your kids will gain so much. And the people who get to be loved by you and your family will gain so much too. By helping clean up and by learning what it means to sit around the table and engage with adults and how to share a meal with other people and scream and laugh at games, your kids will be changed forever. I want this for you. I want it all for you and your family. So, 5 ways to build relationships by inviting people into your family life. Invite them for dinner. Let go of perfection. Give others the chance to play roles, family roles that they don't normally get to play. Be ready to listen and be open-handed with these relationships. Keep inviting. Keep being open, keep loving people well with your home, and teaching your kids what it means to let people in and to love everyone that comes through your door. Thanks for joining me again. I want your homes to be full of people who love you and who you love, and for you to allow your kids to experience what it means to be in community with people, and for you to know as a mom, as a young mom, to let go of what doesn't matter, and that you can do this. You really can.
You just finished another episode of the No Way But Through podcast. If you want to connect with other like-minded moms, head over to the No Way But Through page on Instagram. And if you'd like to help financially support our work over here at No Way But Through, there's a link at the bottom of the description of this podcast on how you can do just that. And click follow and subscribe so that you will get alerts every time we drop a new episode.